Hi, my name's Darko, and this is the Nessie. If you're watching this video, it's more than likely you've purchased a Nessie or are looking to purchase one soon. We've made this video to ensure the best customer experience we can while utilizing the Nessie and to make sure that it's used safely. One of the first things we recommend when using the Nessie is to ensure that your rack is weighted down or bolted to the ground. A big reason for that is when doing belt squats or lat pull downs, especially at heavy weights, the rack that you have can possibly tip if it's not weighted down or lift off the ground. So we want to make sure that your rack is definitely secure with some weight. Another thing when using the Nessie is when mounting it to your rack, you want to make sure that the selector pin for what we're calling the tongue is locked in. That's to ensure that this doesn't come swing freely when you're moving it onto the rack. It makes it a little bit easier to get it mounted without this moving. Another thing, when moving the tongue, we would suggest always keeping one hand on the tongue as you move the selector pin out in order not to have your fingers get stuck or hit with the tongue swinging. Another thing is, we only recommend moving the tongue and pinning it with a mag pin when it is mounted to your rack. A reason for that is you need to have one hand on the tongue and one on the mag pin. If it's not mounted to your rack, the whole thing can swing and again, cause some pinch points. So another thing is, because of the weight of the Nessie and the weight of your Voltra, we do not recommend moving the Nessie when your Voltra is mounted. The Voltra itself weighs about 16 pounds and the Nessie with mag pins weighs about 15. And because of the odd shape of it, when you have your Voltra mounted, especially at a far dock area, like dock number 1, it can become unbalanced and risk dropping it. And the last thing we want is for you to damage your Voltra or damage your Nessie. So those are just a few things to keep track of when you're using your Nessie, just to make sure that 1, you stay safe, and 2, you don't damage your Voltra or your Nessie. When you open up your box with your Nessie, you're going to find a small bag that contains shims in order to make sure that your Nessie fits to your rack as tight as possible. So in this bag, we have shims that are in 3 sizes, a 0.4, a 0.6, and a 0.8 millimeter size for both the front of the upright and for the side of the upright. Due to the tolerances on racks, even within a singular rack, some of the uprights will vary in their size. So we always recommend trying to find where you're going to put it for a belt squat situation and mount it for that, and mount your shims. Now, in order to do so, there are 4 bolts on the current liners installed. So what you want to do is just remove those 4 bolts, replace your shim. Generally what I would do is just put 2 bolts in, see if that shim works. If it's still loose, then you could add some more. The reason for that is to make sure when you're doing belt squats especially, that the Nessie does not rise too much. There's going to be a little bit of play no matter what, just because of the way mag pins work and the way the size of the holes on your rack are. Due to the size of the holes, which are generally a little bit larger than 1 inch or larger than 5/8 of an inch, there's going to be a little bit of play no matter what. So the goal is to make sure that we get it as tight as we possibly can. When using it overhead, like a lat pull down, since you're pulling downwards on the Nessie, it generally won't be affected at all. But when you're doing a belt squat, this is when you want your Nessie to be as tight as possible. If you have any questions on installing your shims to your Nessie, drop us an email at website@darkolifting.com. The Nessie comes with 1 dock pre-installed in dock position 1 and have options to put docks in 2, 3, and 4. When moving your dock, we've included a wrench to where you can unbolt it from the back side of the Nessie. And in order to make this as easy as possible, we've included these dock backing plates in order to avoid the magnetic array from being stuck to the tongue of the Nessie. This makes it a little bit easier while you're dialing in your settings to move your docks around and find which placement works best for you. Another thing to note on the tongue of the Nessie is that there are slots in position 2 and 3 that work for your lap bar holder if you choose to purchase one. This uses a simple pop pin style and locks in once you slide it down into the slots. This allows you to keep your lap bar safely and securely on the Nessie when doing things like lap pull downs. And you can easily remove it by pulling the pop pin and sliding it up and out of the slots. So while there are many choices to choose, we allow you to easily move the docks without damaging the tongue of the Nessie. Another feature of the Nessie that we've included near dock position 1 and dock position 4 are these slots that are cut into the aluminum tongue. These allow you to attach a carabiner and use a snatch block pulley to effectively double the feel weight of the Vultra. And this comes in handy when doing things like belt squats or heavy lap pull downs. And it's just a little trick that we wanted to include without having to attach another eye bolt or other mechanism in order to achieve that 1 to 2 feel weight. You may also notice when moving the selector pin that it feels a bit tight when moving it up and down the bracket. And the reason for that is in order to minimize how much movement and play you see on the tongue, we designed this with very tight tolerances. Now over time, as you continue to move this selector pin in and out of these holes, they should wear just a little bit to be a little bit easier to move this pin in and out. But it is meant to be relatively snug in order to provide the best experience, especially when doing things where you have the Nessie mounted at the bottom of your rack.